let's start off by doing a quick breathing exercise. We'll breathe in while we go up our finger and then out when we go down the finger. I think when it comes to our entire school, I've almost started as my default assuming people aren't okay, which is really
That's
messed
awful.
up.
No, but I feel the same
Considering
way.
we're like,
Very young.
13 to 18 is kind of the age range. And most of the time I meet someone and I like get to know someone, I'm kind of like, and if I find out that they are struggling with something, with a mental health problem, I'm not surprised anymore because I'm
Which is
like,
really sad.
and it's crazy. And I really, really wish that isn't how my thinking has started working.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like everyone was depressed and anxious. I literally was like, what?
I thought it was normal to be
And I
like
think so many people are
having panic
no
attacks.
idea that they
Yeah.
like have those issues or like have no idea what to name it. And like I feel like for me, like to me it's like really important to like surround my people by like people like are I guess like go through similar experiences as me, just because I found like comfort in that. So I feel like I like surround myself by a lot of people who are like knowledgeable in the area, like you guys. But like I feel like there's so many people who aren't and that I like forget that they're not.
It's hard with like immigrant parents and stuff like that. Like they have all these different problems. Like we came to this country, like it's all like you have everything, but it's like, yeah, I have everything, but I still have like stuff that like gives me anxiety. So it's like sometimes when I tell my parents, oh, like this is causing me to be really anxious, like I don't know why, it just is. And they're like, well, just study, just try and like do it. And I'm like, I've been trying, like trust me.
I think there are so many more people struggling with mental health issues than you realize. I feel like it's been normal to just not talk about it, and that's being passed down from generation to generation. If you have these issues, just keep them inside. You don't need to voice them. Just deal with it on your own. You can push through. You'll be okay. And no, you should really be talking about it, but that isn't something I think that's stressed enough. This is just a drawing that I did for my mom a while ago. Art is a really good outlet for me. So I did a lot of drawing kind of in early high school. And I just thought the hummingbirds were really pretty. This one I painted in a time, when I was dealing with a lot of kind of insecurities. And so I have the little guy skating with a bed sheet over him. And then this one up here, I drew in a journal that she's reading, which was a journal that I kept during that time when I was struggling, where I would write down all of my thoughts, things that I went through, and just kind of like adding all of these little motifs or objects to remember what I went through during those times, and kind of like a reminder that I came out the other end, and if I go through another really hard time, I can come out again.
Dear Lord, that we thank you for this day, for the chance to share our thoughts, share our memories of Colin, and hopefully inspire young people to do more to help with mental health in our state. Amen. Amen. Never forget, as Colin's freshman orientation, we went in and the principal came out to the whole freshman group of parents and was saying, if you have a student that's here to get, a 3.9 or better and go to a full 4-year college, then this is what the school's for you. if you're not one of those students or your child isn't one of those students, then we're going to struggle because we're really not set up to provide for that.
They didn't have programs that really supported learning disabilities. And Colin had a couple learning disabilities, so that made it even harder.
That principal is now the superintendent for the Orinda School District.
We have a counselor that comes one day, if we're lucky. Yeah,
For how many kids you have at your school?
about 400.
So that's that ratio we were talking about. So not only is it one counselor to 400 students, it's one counselor to 400 students once a week.
And I can just think how Colin felt. I don't think he was going to jump right into the 4-year college. And he had depression, he had a lot of, learning disabilities, and he just was miserable. The school just exacerbated all his feelings that he had inside about himself. Something he couldn't get through.
Banks Middle School for joining in. We have two awesome speakers joining us today. We have Graham Wiseman and also Avani Garisha. She is a former Venture graduate.
Things like anxiety and depression are really serious. And if you had a broken arm or a broken leg, something serious like that, where would you go? You can put it in the chat or come off mute if you'd like. If you have a broken arm or broken leg, where would you go? Ashmeet says the hospital. Maxman says to your mom, parents. Indra doesn't know, home, then hospital. If you're lying on the side of the road and your skateboard's on the other side and you've got a broken leg, you're gonna call 911.
When I was in middle school, a lot of my friends and my peers around me started developing symptoms of mental illnesses. Sometimes I'll just listen, if I'm feeling stressed about an assignment or things that are going on, I'll just blast music out loud and just sit in my room for a while and just think for a bit until I clear up all my thoughts, and then I can get back to work again with a calm mind, which usually helps me focus a whole lot better. Yeah, like I said, playing with your dog or cat. My cat's sitting right there, she's watching me, and things like that. That's great, keep them coming.
So for anxiety, can it also make you feel so sick that you just want to stop whatever you're doing and just sit down and, I don't know how to continue that, but can anxiety also do that?
It can actually make you throw up. It can be so strong that you start throwing up and you feel like you've got the flu or something.
Our son Colin was a little boy. He was born 6.5 weeks early, and he needed that extra time to cook, right? But he came out and he was, beautiful little blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy, full of sunshine, very smart and extremely kind and compassionate. But as he started going to school, he started having issues with fitting in the classroom. And at that point, the doctors had said, well, we think he has depression. And so they were giving him different medications. And then when he got into high school, it just kind of started to fade. It really wasn't working for him, and the depression was getting at him. We were just trying to encourage him to continue and in essence, tough it out. He dropped out of sports, he dropped out of scouts, and what we didn't know was those were classic warning signs. We would ask him, are you thinking of taking your life? He said, no, I wouldn't do that. No, but I'm sad. I'm like, okay, we can help you. And there's a hummingbird out there.
Yeah.
So I keep pointing out the hummingbirds, and I'll get back to that in a couple. You'll see they're everywhere in the house. One night, Colin was texting his friends, and kind of hinted pretty well what he was going to do. And the next morning I found him. And I tell people that, you know, especially young people, that if one of those young people had said something to anyone, a parent, a friend, me, right, his mom, we'd have a different story. We may have still lost them, but not that night. And that's something I really kind of emphasize whenever I'm talking to students. You need to make the call. You need to make the call.
You know, when you're young, you just want to keep your friends happy, and to have that kind of relationship. We'd have late night calls at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., like end up not sleeping, talking to them and trying to support them the best I could. And then like one day they started telling me about their self-harm and things like that. And it really started snowballing until it got to a point where like I literally was not sure if my friend would be here the next day if I didn't do something about it at that point. So I had to reach that point where I thought, it's okay if my friend hates me. I have to tell someone because they might not be alive. The Bay Area is a really like, at least within our community here, there's a lot of pressure, and it's a lot of like academics in school and like wanting to get into what we would call like a good school and things like that. Part of the thing that we need to work on is like the students' relationship and their trust with the school itself, because it should be a safe place. Basically, like 1 in every 2 students has thought about committing suicide is scary. My community is my family. They're my support system, my friends. Community is basically wherever you feel safe, a place for you to just be you and talk to them, as weird and as like unique as you are.
When we initially discussed about mental health, I was telling the main thing is the communication gap, because we are immigrants here and many terms and words we use, we didn't mean to say that, and they interpret it in a different way. Many things we had, but it's not a one-day thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's trust is kind of, you know, it's one day it's broken, it's hard to get it back again. It's like it goes on and it's forever.
We've built ours, for example, like over years.
Yeah, it's
years of trust.
That's what we are family.
This is where Colin's laid to rest, and obviously we didn't expect there to be 2 empty ones for us and him there. We've tried to, keep it nice. It's been 8 years, almost 9 now, since we lost him. I can tell by the handwriting this is from our friend Fireman Mike, who he was the 3rd person I called after we lost Colin. So he has obviously been up here and left a nice long message for him. So yeah, I love seeing these. I love that people are still thinking about him. So this is where Jake is. Jake's buried here. We met them because his mother was lying here on the grass with a blanket, crying, and we knew the cry. Came over. It's just sad. You know, as we go through life, you don't know what the other person's experienced. I always think that, like in the military, where they got medals, so you can say, oh, you served here, or you had this experience, or you showed valor, or something like that. That as civilians, we don't have that. And I was sharing that with some teachers the other day, and I just, you know why the medals are on the left? That's because death approaches from the left, and you're warning it's about to face a warrior. And when I think about what I've been through and the different things in my life, I've faced death like 5 times, where it's been really scary or close. And I sometimes wonder if I could have helped Colin face it, if I could have given him better tools or something.
Bring Change to Mind is a club that's dedicated to fighting the stigma against mental health.
I would be down, honestly, to do like a little meditation at the end of every meeting.
Yeah, because they have like some like 3-minute ones that I feel like are good.
I became president during the quarantine year, and so pretty much all of the clubs saw a really dramatic decline in like club attendance. During the pandemic year, it felt a little heavier in a way, I think, because of what was going on and how many teenagers especially were having such problems with mental health.
I'm really happy that out of all of the clubs I could have gotten involved with in high school, I got involved with this one because I feel like it's something that I'm going to remember this.
Yeah, and it's always going to be relevant.
Yes,
Like,
it's always.
I think a lot of things that are connected to high school start with high school and end with high school. But, these issues are going to be important for the rest of our lives.
Even if we don't have support at home, we can support each other. And I think that's really important for people of color, for people with disabilities. Like, it's just a really important topic that we need to spread.
There's always someone who's willing to talk to you. Maybe it's a club at your school or a best friend or your parent or a sibling. But there's always someone who cares about you, who's there and will listen.
You define what success is, right? Could be going to a four-year university, and for those students, they feel like that defines their success. But for others, it could be just graduating high school or just passing this one class. And you shouldn't feel pressured to define your success as what someone else considers success.
We were camping in the desert, and there's not a lot of hummingbirds in the desert, but one got stuck in our car. And so, what is that in the car? Well, it's a hummingbird. We just opened the door and it left.
Messengers, right?
Yeah. And on that same camping trip, we saw a quadruple rainbow. Most people rarely see a double rainbow, and we saw a quadruple one. We always thought that might be a little sign.
Didn't even know you could have a quadruple.
Yeah.
We can,
Yeah. We're like,